Welcome to Raise Nation Radio, the podcast for nonprofit movers, shakers, and change makers. We are here to fuel your passion with a daily dose of fundraising inspiration while keeping the conversations and connections from the annual Raise Conference alive all year long. Tune in for fresh perspectives, bold strategies, and the hottest trends lighting up the nonprofit world. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, buckle up. Each episode is packed with lively discussions, expert insights, and creative solutions to help you make an even bigger impact. Now get ready for another exciting episode. Please welcome your host from One Cause, Dawn Lego.
Welcome back to Raise Nation Radio. I'm so glad you're joining us today. I'm Dawn Lego. Thank you for being a fan and making this show so popular. If you've been with us from the beginning, thanks. It's been 3 years running, and we've been meeting on this channel for a good number of weeks. If you're new, well, hopefully you'll be with us for the next 3 years, and we'll continue to have great conversations and grow this channel together. So just like all of our episodes, today's promises to be a meaningful one. We have a great speaker. We'll talk about just all things in the nonprofit space. This topic is one that I'm going to be learning about right alongside all of you. So buckle up, get comfortable, and let's jump right in. So today, who do we have with us? Well, it's Kate McGinn. Kate, welcome to Raise Nation Radio. How are you?
Doing good, Dawn. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the chance to be here and talk to you.
Yeah, we've chatted a couple times. I'm super intrigued about some of our discussions today. But before we get there, our audience might want to get to know you a little bit better. We're a big family here at Raise Nation Radio. So just why don't you introduce yourself? What are you doing these days? Kind of something new and exciting. And you've been bold and fearless, just like all of our fearless fundraisers out there, branching off into something new. And I'd love to share that from the rooftops to our audience.
Love that. Well, yes. So something new for me. So I am, as Dawn said, I'm Kate McGinn. I am the CEO of the Bold Stripe, which is a nonprofit consulting company. And it's a new endeavor for me. Before I started the Bold Stripe, I spent 12 years at the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And when I left the organization, I was overseeing the Visionaries of the Year campaign nationally. So it's a competition style fundraiser. We'll talk about that a little bit on this call, I'm sure. But at the Bold Stripe, we are a company that really focuses on equipping, coaching, and just putting the strongest infrastructure in place to support one of the most important assets that a organization has, which is its people. And so I really love the opportunity to work with organizations on their board and the way their board works together, their high impact peer-to-peer fundraisers, their chairs, but also their internal leaders. And so it's been a fun journey kicking this company off, but I've been really enjoying it and am excited to just keep diving into the work.
So you left LLS, right, to start the Bold Stripe. Is that right?
Bold Stripe, yes.
Okay. We're going to get that in the show notes. So whoever's listening, we'll put Kate's contact information and company information into all the show notes. But what inspired you to do that? And where did you find the bravery and the courage to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. It's an incredible organization. Obviously, I spent 12 years there. And I got just to a point where I was excited about what's next for me personally. And having spent so long in one organization, I also got really excited about, I think most of us, we come into the nonprofit space because we care about giving back. And I got really excited about the opportunity to not only move LLS's mission forward, which is such an incredible one, but to just really work with and impact organizations with a larger span of missions. And so I thought about, a lot of different things that I could do, but I just kept coming back to how amazing would it be to just own my own company and really get to define what kind of work I feel like I can make the biggest impact on the space in. And so that's what brought me here. And so I made the jump. It's been an incredible move for me. Obviously, there's a real difference in working for yourself versus working at, an organization like that where the teams are built in. But I am loving it. And I've been so overwhelmed with the just wonderful support that I've gotten from my network and really being on this journey with me.
Yeah, it's so exciting. We're happy to be on the journey with you. So how many months has it been now?
So I kicked it off in September. So we're right at the three-ish month mark.
Oh my gosh.
Fast
And
and
you're fast and you're busy as could be, right? I mean, that's insane. Good for you. Well, you obviously bring a lot of expertise and we're all going to benefit from it. And last time we spoke, you hit me with, I've been around for a long time too, but you hit me with this competition fundraising. I was like, whoa, okay, back up. What is that? And I knew what it was. I don't know. I never had a name to it, I guess. But let's talk about it. Do you mind if we can, for people like me that kind of was like, whoa, what's that? Can we go to the basics and like, what is competition fundraising?
Yes. Well, I love what you just said there, because what you said is like, I know what it is, but I just didn't know what to call it. And
Yeah.
that's really normal. It's not that it's as soon as I kind of explain what competition style fundraising is, I often find people are like, oh, that's this thing or this thing that they've seen. And so I think
or they've done.
Or they've done.
Yeah.
They just didn't know that that's how to define it. And I think that's really the thing that's one of the things that's changed recently is it being its own bucket. It's grown in scale. And so when I think about competition style fundraising, I'm really thinking about it. There is a fundraising competition component that is a core and central component to it, which is something along the lines of whoever individual or team can raise the most money, there is some winner at the end.
Got it.
Absolutely, organizations and many of the campaigns out there have an additional component alongside it. So it's not just straight raising money, but there are also a lot of competitions that it is just every dollar you raise is essentially like a vote for you to win this piece of it. And like any competition, I think most of the industry has defined timeframes, defined rules. So just thinking about like, how is it really mirroring a competition that you might see in an athletic arena or in an election or things like that. Just those core components that really do make it about competing at its core.
Now, you already answered a question that I was going to ask. It could be a team or individual. So you can have individuals competing against each other, or you can have teams competing against each other. What tends to work better, or really no?
I tend to lean towards the individual as the...
Wow. I didn't expect you were going to say that.
Well, but there's a but to it, which is as the face of it. So two of the largest scale competition style fundraising events are at the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and they have a person who heads it up. So there's a candidate competing who's at the head of the team, but they're building a team around them. So it's not necessarily always one person competing by themselves. But the reason why I lean into having, one person be the main, competitor, for lack of a better word, is because when you're dealing with kind of the emotions of a competition, people, how many of us have been like a group project and you're frustrated with the way someone else is, pulling you back? So
I have a senior in college and she kind of complains to me about that all the time. I get it.
So I think, whether it is an individual or it is a small defined group or subset, as some of the youth style components work in that manner, I think when you have someone who's the leader and that's defined, you're just able to work with that person in a different way and lean into the kind of competitive spirit and those juices in a little bit of a different approach.
And we're all so competitive by nature. I'll compete with anybody over just about anything, right? Like, I think we really are. Or is that just me? Gosh, now the Raise Nation radio audience is like, oh, we liked you before, Dawn, but maybe we don't like you now. I'm so competitive.
No, but we're not sure we want to play against you.
There you go. Okay, I'll take that one. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're competitive in nature, I guess, because I am. But so this isn't new, right? There's nothing new about this concept. We're not reinventing a wheel here. It's been around for a while. But what would you say about where we are today in fundraising, that it's kind of scaled to its own bucket? So what do we have? We have event fundraising, we have online fundraising, we have peer-to-peer fundraising, and now it's its own channel almost. Like, what do you think? Why? Well, how did we get here that it's a thing?
Yeah, I think there's a number of factors on it. One of them is just the scale of the industry. I think you can look across the space and see some of the larger organizations, they're raising a lot of money for the mission. And so I think it started to be something that is a little bit more recognizable as a viable like line of competition or a line of fundraising. And so I think just the knowledge that you can have this really large scale impact with this structure of campaign has definitely been, I think, a game changer in the way the industry is looking at it. I also, though, think that this is a function of what I see volunteers asking for. They're asking for more customization. They're asking for more engagement. They're asking for things to be more personalized to them and to be something that really sparks them in a different way. And I think as we see that, that's a trend that I think we've seen across the industry. It's been in some of the more recent reports, but I think what competition style fundraising does is it gives you another way for people to engage. And maybe they're used to running a marathon for a cause, but they might want to switch it up, still lean into that, that just drive and that goal-oriented nature and have something that sits alongside moving the mission forward. There's this extra component that makes it feel like, whoa, this really speaks to me. And when there's people, you said yourself, Dawn, you said, I'm a competitive person. Are we all competitive? If that's something that someone defines themselves as, then it's a fun thing for them to be able to lean into and see like, oh, wow, this feels a little bit different. This feels a little bit special. Maybe I've done this other style fundraising before. Maybe this is kind of a new thing for me to try.
So I remember years ago, the Special Olympics of New Jersey, they had a fundraiser for young adults, and it was American Girl doll fashion show. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it was a competition fundraiser because your child, in this case, it was my daughter, she got to be a model at different levels with the American Girl doll fundraiser. So did she get to model once? Did she get to model twice? Did she get the prettiest outfits, or did she get the free doll? Did she get to go on stage? Right. So the more you raised, the more modeling you got to do. Right. And so competitive mom over here. Yeah. So I don't even want to admit with how competitive I was, but that's what we're talking. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool about what you just described there too, is I think we're seeing a lot more in this space on the youth component. And as a parent, even if you're the competitive person, there's nothing you want more in the world than for your child to succeed, right? And so there's just this like extra.
And there I was, picture. Oh yeah, my daughter again. Yeah, it's not a problem. She's just a good model. Picture. It worked though. I mean, I impacted a great cause.
And it added this different level of motivation for you of here's this way that I can not only move the mission forward. I'm sure you knew that was an incredible cause that y'all were proud to support, but it was giving you a reason to push on a different level than you might have pushed in just if it was just you're raising money and, you get this opportunity to model and they're kind of side by side, but they're not tied in any way.
Yeah. I love it. I grew up with generosity being a culture, in my family. My dad he donates a different way. He's a different generation, but I grew up with so many times a year, he had all his checks on the table and he would write out all his checks to certain charities. He would tell me why. I would help him with the envelopes and all of that. So I kind of grew up with that. And I will say this about competition fundraising, that culture is in my family. We are always doing something for somebody in some way, but the Special Olympics New Jersey really had sustained giving with me. I looked forward to it every year. I kind of was like stalking them on their website. Are you having the American Girl fashion show again? Like they didn't have to come to me. I went to them. So there's really deep engagement, I think, with this, especially if you're speaking to the competition within, right? So I get it. And I hope our audience is like, getting inspired. I do have a hard question for you, Kate.
Well, I'm ready.
Yeah. So as a consultant, put your consultant hat on. Is competition fundraising as easy as a peer-to-peer campaign with just a recognition for your top fundraiser, or is there more to it than that? There's got to be more to it than that.
Softball question. Yeah.
That's okay. That's a softball question. Okay. So tell us, enlighten us.
Do it well. And to really serve your volunteers with the experience, which I think should always be a really important component of what we look at as a nonprofit, is the experience for the volunteer great, because you want to make sure that they both come into and walk out of the experience with the campaign, even if they only participate one time, feeling like, oh my God, that was incredible. I'm even more excited to support this organization coming out of it. And what that is a great opportunity for you to get them excited and really engage them in a different way. But there's a lot of emotions that come with a competition. And in many structures, if your competition is just the person who raises the most wins, well, then you probably have one winner and everybody else didn't win. And so there's, I think, just a lot of emotional components that come into play and a lot of real thought and intentionality that is important for the nonprofit to put in place to make sure that there's almost a balance between, yes, there is one winner and you want to try for your personal best. You want to try as hard as you can to do everything you can. But also everyone who is raising money is moving this mission forward.
They can't be losers, right? It can't be winner and loser. Exactly.
So there's a balance there. And that is something you have to be really intentional to foster. You have to be really leaning into different motivational points. How are you making sure
like my daughter modeling?
Exactly. How are they also not only motivated by the win? Because if at some point in the competition, they feel like they can't get to the next level or they can't win. So if your daughter was like, oh my gosh, I'm so far off from the next level of fundraising to get whatever this special prize is that she wanted, or for someone else, if they're so far off of what they think the top fundraiser is doing, well, gosh, am I now slowing down because you've taken away my motivation? Or vice versa. If you just like, you're so far ahead of somebody else that you're looking back and like, I can coast, work's a little busy right now. Let me slow down. That is something you have to balance really hard. And so it's not as easy as it looks like it is. It can absolutely be done and is done in the campaigns that are raising, the millions and millions of dollars in this style, but it is not without a lot of thought and strategy to make that the experience is good no matter where you fall in the competition.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully, Raise Nation, you're hearing that. Don't just put a top prize for, we don't want to do that. So Kate, can the Bold Stripe help? Like, is that something that you do and that you bring that intentionality, strategy, creativity, A to Z, if a nonprofit is working with you? Can you help?
It's one of the things I really get just lit up getting a chance to work on. I work with a lot of organizations that don't do competition style fundraising. So there's certainly a wide breadth of services we offer. But when I get to work with an organization on their competition style fundraiser, whether it is incorporating a new one or taking one they already have and looking at what are the elements that are in place, how are we training your staff, how are we setting up structures and putting resources in place that really help you maximize. There's just a lot that sits kind of behind the scenes under the covers that makes a really high impact. This is true for any kind of peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. Competition style is no different in that component. And so I just get a lot of joy when I get to work with them.
So you've got some competition inside of you too. We're kindred spirits like that.
I kind of, it's a joke I tell people, I kind of fell into competition style fundraising. I got my master's and I was looking for a new position and I came across a job description, and Leukemia Lymphoma Society was the first place I came across competition style fundraising. And I remember reading it and thinking, and this 12 years ago, but I remember thinking to myself, like, hold on a second. Not only do I get to do fundraising, but if I was to get this job, I get to be in a competition as a, slightly competitive person. And I get to work with kind of a smaller group of people on helping them really like kind of take things to the next. It just sounded like my dream
scenario.
To you.
Yeah.
It really spoke to me and sparked the passion right from the start.
So you answered another question that I was going to ask you. It's not always a net new, so for our audience, that's like, okay, this sounds good, but gosh, I can't do a net new fundraiser. So it doesn't always need to be a net new. You can take an existing peer-to-peer campaign and up-level it to like a competition style. What do you think the uptick is? Like if you had to put a percentage to it, if you took a typical peer-to-peer campaign and then you layered in a very intentional, strategic, creative competition style into an existing are you looking at a 20% yield, 50%? Like, can you put a number, some kind of number on it?
It's really tough. What I will say is where I see organizations lean into this mostly, if it's not a new event that they're building around a competition, is they're taking a subset of people and they're segmenting them out of an existing campaign and pulling that into a competition. So that might be you're pulling out your emerging leaders, or you're pulling out your company executives, you're pulling out your this industry, maybe it's the legal industry, and you're making a legal industry competition within your, let's say, walk style fundraiser. And so I think that's why it can be hard to put a percentage around it, because it sometimes depends on how small the scale of what you're segmenting is as part of the greater reach. But what I will tell you is that some of the fastest growth I've seen has come from competition style fundraising. And I have consistently been a part of years that were at 10% plus growth on a regular basis, on an ongoing basis. And I think, some years even significantly higher than that. I've been a part of campaigns that had 100% growth. So I think it really just depends on what subset, how big are you leaning into competition style fundraising? And I'm a very big component of make it manageable, because you always want the experience to be a great fit for your volunteers. I said that earlier in the episode. And so making sure that if you're putting in another layer, another segmentation, that's a great thing, because it's giving you the ability to kind of customize the experience for people and maybe tap into this competitive side for them. But you want to make sure that you can really support it. And so just kind of like
do it right.
Jump all the way into the deep end right from the start.
Right. But, if you're looking to do something fresh, new, fun, up level, you don't have the resources for a net new fundraiser, this is a great idea, right? To just kind of add a new element and a new twist to maybe an existing campaign. So if we're getting some of our audience members to noodle, or they're picking up the phone or emailing you right now and saying, okay, let's do this, what are the key elements that they should think about that's going to drive success? So before you call Kate no matter what, but before you do, I think we should rattle off what are the key elements that they need to think about that's going to make them successful. Can you outline that?
I think the first one is kind of your defined audience. Who is the ideal volunteer that you're trying to attract with this competition style fundraiser? And so really, if it's a part of a standalone event, or whether it's a standalone event, or it's a part of an existing event that you have, did you pull out a segment, or is there a group of people? Because you don't want to just cannibalize yourself. There's either a new type of person you're trying to attract, or there is a type of person that you are trying to maximize their impact from. And so, that I forget what the exact principle is, but they always say, 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your participants. It's a, common 80-20 rule. I think that's often true in peer-to-peer fundraising. And so who is that 20% that you're trying to up level? Who is that 20% that has more opportunity? And how can you define what that looks like? Because what that will allow you to do is make sure you are assessing your inflow to make sure you're getting the right people for this opportunity. Because again, if this is about serving volunteers and finding the place where they're going to thrive, you have to make sure you're helping them find the right place in your organization. I also think it's really important to lean in. If you're going to lean into a competition, you have to put parameters around it. What's the time frame that you're going to work on? What are the rules that you're going to put in place? There's certainly debate in the industry, I think, between having people be able to see the amount you're fundraising as you go and having people not be able to see. So is it blind competition, or is it that you can see as you go how you're comparing to everyone? There are pros and cons on each, but sometimes there's reasons why one is a better fit for you. So just thinking about what rules you might, or parameters you might want to put in place as an organization are really key. And then when you're going to lean into competition, I do think that in most cases, having it be a little bit higher touch is really of value because of all those emotional components that we were talking about a little earlier. So I think it's also just important to think about your resources and making sure that you know what resources you're going to be allocating, especially from a staffing perspective. How is it going to be staffed, and all those pieces. Those are all questions that I can help people think through the components on. You don't have to, come in with all of the answers there. But if you're trying to really do this and look at your own event, that's some starting points I think you can build off of.
Yeah. Wow. Or call Kate, right?
Okay.
Yeah, just call Kate. That's easy peasy. This is so fun, but I know there's so many different things that we can talk about. We consume this whole episode just on competition fundraising, but I think it's important. We're all looking for fresh, new, fun ideas. And I do remember you're totally bringing me back to, I think it was the 3 years that Alyssa was part of this American Girl doll fashion show with the Special Olympics New Jersey. And we had so much fun, really. I mean, I never even felt like I was fundraising. For me, it was, my daughter was on the stage in cute little outfits or narrating or doing something. And then, we are akin to Special Olympics New Jersey because I do have a son with special needs. So I felt like it was our way to, give back. And then through it all, Alyssa was able to speak and, have a little bit more impact. And then that started her own foundation. So it just really snowballs, I feel. And I think that engagement is just so deep. So I'm a testament, right? I'm definitely a testimonial for this.
Well, and I mean, just chiming in with the one thing I'd add there, you mentioned that's a youth component. The way I've seen this type of event, peer-to-peer fundraising in general, but when you can really get the youth to lean in, it is often a really transformational opportunity for them, picking up professional skills, but also just setting them up to be philanthropic for the rest of their lives.
Well,
and
yeah.
that is exactly the kind
At
of...
her 3rd year, my daughter started her own nonprofit. That's exactly what happened. And, it's interesting because this is a social campaign, right? So, and I think that generation is social really quick and easy and fast. And no, I got it, Ma. Like, woo, this has just been so great. But this is a niche that you are definitely spearheading in your consulting firm, but there's a lot that you can do. So we only have a couple more minutes and I guess we're going to have to invite you back. But I think what I want to ask is, what are you excited about in the next few years? And you feel that nonprofits should be prioritizing in their strategy, their fundraising strategy?
I've talked to a number of clients and potential clients recently who are really leaning into what they might call high impact or high value. And it's really coming back to the individuals that they're working with. How can they make a true partnership? How can they not turn over volunteers every year, but really help the people who are leaning in with them to maximize? And that requires, in many cases, like just a little bit higher touch, more customization, more personalization. And I think that is incredible, because if we can get to a point where every peer-to-peer fundraiser we have is raising more money, not only do we move our mission forward, but we allow our staff to work with a smaller subset of participants, which can also just be great from a capacity standpoint, and allowing us to make sure that the nonprofit space is a really healthy place for employees too, and just for all of us to continue to want to thrive in. And so I'm just loving the way the space seems to be leaning into personalization, customization, and making things really fit for each person. Anytime I get to be a part of that for people's journey is just, it lights my fire up for sure.
Yeah, I think we have to go deep, not wide, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're spot on there. Well, so I'm feeling like there's a webinar workshop in our future with our Raise audience, maybe, 5 steps to planning your competition fundraiser. I don't know. How does that sound to you? Raise Nation, tell us, how does that sound to you? I mean, do we want to bring Kate back and get, I don't know, what is it? 5 steps, 10 steps? How many steps can we cover? Okay. How many steps can we cover in 50 minutes or so? So I feel like now that we talked about the why, we probably need to address the how. So hopefully we can have you back in some capacity to do that. But this has been so much fun. I can't thank you enough. We want to wish you all good luck and all good things in the Bold Stripe. That's kind of a cool name. How'd you come up with the name? I want to hear that story.
No, for me, when I was building, I've always had a dream of running my own business. And so when I finally kind of made the leap, I knew that I wanted to make sure that the name wasn't just Kate McGinn Consulting, because I don't think that gives me as much flexibility for where do I go with this. And I've always been someone who has kind of big dreams and likes to really, how can I be my best self? How can I make the biggest impact that I can? And so I was thinking about just, I also have a love for interior design, certainly not a professional on it, but just really enjoy doing that. And I love the classic approach of a stripe. It's very
Oh, I didn't think of that.
when you can use stripes, and really talented interior designers can use stripes in ways that are really visually appealing and really make a standout effort. And so that has always been kind of a mindset for me on strategy. You don't have to do, I know competition style fundraising might sound new, but you don't have to do something dramatically new or completely change the way that you work. If you lean into best practices and the things that work really well, you can still have a really unique niche, and
You have a unique, bold stripe.
impact. Exactly. So the bold stripe is that, classic, but bold at the same time.
If I would have predicted the stories, I would have lost that competition.
You're telling me sometime what the story in your mind you're building was.
I think what came to mind was payment processing, the stripe, donations. And I think that's the first thing that came to mind.
I love that. It's, the subconscious, money for your mission.
Yes, of course. I'm always thinking money for mission. That is so funny. Well, yeah, this has just been so entertaining. So we do wish you all the best, success with the bold stripe. We hope that you come back. We hope that we'll see you perhaps at Raise. Hopefully you're submitting to speak, and we can see you there. But I suspect all good things for the bold stripe. That's hopefully in some people's living rooms, and we'll remind them of you each step of the way. So we're going to wrap all of this up, your contact information, bold stripe, all those good things, and get it into the show notes so that our audience could get in touch with you. But thank you for joining us, and best of luck to you.
It was wonderful. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, all good stuff. Well, Raise Nation Radio, thank you. Great episode. Kate McGinn, the bold stripe. And now you know what that means. Check it out and think about competition fundraising for your next strategy. Sounds good. Bye, Kate. Bye, Raise Nation. Fearless Fundraisers, that's a wrap for today. A heartfelt thank you to our guests for sharing their stories, insights, and expertise. And to you, our fantastic audience, for everything you do to build brighter tomorrows in our communities. We hope today's content inspires you to amplify your mission and grow your impact. Don't forget to join us for new episodes every Thursday, wherever you listen to your podcasts, or catch us on YouTube and on demand at onecause.com. And before we go, we'd love your help in growing this podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, follow, and subscribe to Raise Nation Radio. Share it with a friend, and please leave us a review so we can continue delivering content that inspires and empowers. Raise Nation Radio is produced in partnership with OneCause, your go-to for digital fundraising solutions that connect nonprofits with their donors and drive results. Visit onecause.com or scan the QR code to schedule a one-to-one with their fundraising experts and explore the latest tools and innovations to help you reach more and raise more. Plus, be sure to check out their extensive catalog of free resources to support your mission. All the links are in the show notes. Raise Nation Radio is inspired by the annual Raise Conference, presented by OneCause. We'd love to see you in person at the next Raise event in September. It's a 2-day experience featuring over 35 CFRE accredited sessions, dynamic speakers, and the latest innovations from our sponsor pavilion, and priceless networking opportunities. And while you're there, don't miss the Fearless Fundraiser Party. It's where memories are made and lifelong friendships are formed. Secure your spot today at onecause.com/raise. The link is also in the show notes. Until next time, thank you for tuning in. And as always, stay fearless.